when you think about the future of service, which is like the tagline of Officium, we often find that, you know, when people think about CX, they don't fully understand the impact of CX. And so you'll have really talented product people create a product, but they don't think about the whole customer journey. So they don't realize they're jumping over dimes to get to pennies. And so when you think about customer experience, they look at the entire journey and you can identify falling points. Failures, I don't really believe in that word, but falling points of the product or falling points of when stickiness, dries and customers leave.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Engati CX. I'm your host Chandni, and we're really glad to have all of you join us today. On the show, we talk to CX and tech experts from around the world. We explore, uncover, and share fresh insights on creating experiences that your customers will remember and look forward to. Engati is the world's leading multilingual, no-code digital CX platform available across 15 channels with 53,000 solutions created across 186 countries in every domain and use case. Engati has also been recognized as a top platform by Inc. magazine, Tech World, CIO, and many others. Engati recently also won the Cody 2021 award for being the best AI-driven technology solution. We run the Engati blog, video channel, and the Engati CX podcast, receiving upwards of 500,000 visitors annually. Let us now welcome today's guest. Jonathan Shroyer says, dream big and then go forth to achieve what others say is not possible. As a co founder of Officium Labs, he firmly believes customers are the heart of every company. With his leadership at Officium, he started with a $150,000 loan, an idea, and four people to 22 plus clients and over $10 million revenue in less than 2 years. His sweet spot is exactly what Officium stands for in Latin, to serve. If I can help, I am there for you, is his motto. Welcome to the show, Jonathan. We're really glad to have you today.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a great honor to be considered as a potential like tech expert or industry expert. It's been a wonderful ride over the last couple of years at Officium in my career, 20 years before. So thanks for considering me and letting me be on the Engati podcast.
The pleasure is all ours, Jonathan. So before we dive into our interview with Jonathan, don't forget to subscribe to Engaki and tap on the bell icon below to get access to exclusive content from thought leaders around the globe. So, Jonathan, welcome again on the show. Diving right into the interview, my first question to you is the global payment systems. Why are they getting more and more popular? And what do you think is the new face for cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great question, and I think as you think about the way that people work, and you think about the way that people access funds, and not only how they access it, but then how they spend those funds in less developed countries in the world is super critical and super important. And I think you can look at some use cases in certain countries in the world where either the government has cut off the internet or the government has shut banks down temporarily. The individuals in those countries were able to continue to thrive because of their ability to make cryptocurrency, spend cryptocurrency outside of kind of the government structure, which allowed them to, whether it's to buy food or to pay electricity or transition their crypto into whatever the local currency was. I think it's going to be super interesting. You look at a global payment system. There's a lot of great fintech companies out there. I got a buddy of mine, Peter Hazelhurst, who started Synctera and others, and they're really thinking about like, how do we break down the boundaries for global payments? How do we leverage cryptocurrencies, then the blockchain, to enable more people around the globe to have access to funds, to earn funds, and to be able to live the type of life they want, or maybe the type of life that they dream for. So the new face of crypto, I mean, there's so many up and coming kind of startup companies. There's a lot in the game space with mythical games, Forte, Rally. There's a lot in other spaces as well, and the fintech space, as I mentioned earlier. I think what we'll start to see is over the next 5 to 10 years is that some of these players will become bigger more standardized players and accepted across the globe. And then they won't necessarily become like central banks per se, but they'll be more accepted across the population around the world. And then it'll in essence become an accepted currency. And then that will become the face. Obviously, I'm not sure that there's one cryptocurrency today that will be the face in 10 years because there's so much volatility in the market. But it'll be super interesting to see not which cryptocurrency is the most valuable in 5 or 10 years, but which one is the most utilized. And I think that's the thing that people don't often talk about today is the utility of the currency versus the value. A lot of people get caught up in the value, but what's the utility of that currency? So I think that's the new face is going to be the most utilized currency.
Absolutely. And adding to what you said about the utility, right? There's another thing that I think everybody wants to watch out for is the different purposes that can be fulfilled using cryptocurrencies. Right now, the utility, the way people use cryptocurrency is very less, and I think that is another thing that would expand in the coming
That's
year.
right. That's right. That's right. As marketplaces open up and accept cryptocurrency, you're going to start to see kind of a ubiquity nature of these currencies more go wider as well.
Absolutely. So just I mean, my curiosity stuff. Which industries do you think would accept cryptocurrencies first?
Well, I mean, a lot of our clients in the gaming space, they accept and they utilize cryptocurrencies. As a company, we accept cryptocurrency for payment as well because we're in the gaming space. You'll find you look at like the new tech adoptions across the last 40, 50 years, and video games is usually on the forefront of a lot of those tech adoptions. And in this case, I view kind of cryptocurrency as a technology adoption because it's really based off of technology, even though it's a monetary function. And so I think gaming for sure is going to be a space that uses it. And then you start to look at like other marketplaces today. Like at some point, you look at the marketplace Alibaba in Asia, you look at Amazon in the Americas and other large marketplaces, Facebook as a marketplace, they're eventually going to accept, some type of cryptocurrency. I think Facebook is actually investing in their own type of virtual cryptocurrency. So I think it's going to take a while for that to develop, but once it becomes a utility, it's going to be mass wide. But gaming for sure today accepts it.
Absolutely. So, talking about the future of work and decentralization, when do you think both of those will connect? And what do you think the how would the future of work and decentralization be when they go together?
Well, I think it's interesting. So when we started Officium, when I was kind of sitting on my couch, not in this room, but when I in my other room, the couch, I looked down at a Wi-Fi router, and in kind of a 45-second period, I said, okay, that's what we build. We build a decentralized network of best-in-class workers from the front line to kind of the executive level, and then we allow those workers to engage with clients. So there's bidirectional value where the worker can work wherever they live remotely, completely decentralized. The client can get that value and tap into a bigger talent base because they're not locked into 25 miles away from their headquarters or whatnot. So we built the company off of that concept with the long-term concept of accepting cryptocurrency in a decentralized way. And then what happened is 6 months later, COVID happened. And then everybody they didn't decentralize, but they started to work from home. So if you look at the statistics up until kind of pre-COVID, in the US, you're looking at like 50 to 60% of people that were doing a side gig or working from their house doing something, right? And that just almost went to 100% overnight, right? And of course, that's going to swing back a little bit once things kind of open back up. But I think we've unwound something that's not going to be wound back up. And so we're going to start to see companies see value in having either a decentralized team or having a flexibly working team more and more. And I think in the tech industry, it's obviously going to be a lot easier. and the healthcare industry, it's going to be a lot harder, even though you do start to see a lot of virtual doctor visits, a lot of virtual nurse visits. If I broke my arm, I got to go to the hospital, right? So there's going to be some things that you can't kind of decentralize. But I think you're going to start seeing companies think about it not only from an employee satisfaction standpoint, they're going to think about it from an economic standpoint. Their profit margins are going to be better because they don't have to invest in facilities and so forth. And then the third thing is, like I mentioned earlier, they're going to tap into a much better talent pool, right? And I'm hoping, my goal is, the full dream of like a decentralized world is that somebody, wherever somebody lives in the world, they get paid for the value of their work, not the current monetary value of the geography that they live in. So, for example, if I'm a business manager and I live in South Africa, or if I live in Tokyo or India or Russia or UK or US, I should be paid the same. Should people pay the same for the skills that I bring, because I'm bringing those same skills? That's kind of the long-term vision that I hope that the world, gets to, valuing people based off of their skills, not if they're not based off of their geography, financial function. But that's where I think decentralized really hits kind of its magnum opus, if you will. But I think in the near term, what I think you're going to start to see a lot more companies just really invest in remote work, and then my company is going to continue. We continue to grow. I think it's 9 or 10 countries today. As it happens, we have a good footprint in India. We love India. I lived there for, I think it was like 8 or 9 months back in 2004, I want to say. But I love India. But anyways, so I think that's kind of how I think about that.
So, just to know, which one do you personally prefer? I mean, working from home in the decentralized manner or working in a space together?
I definitely prefer working from home. I think I have a young child, and my wife also is a professional, and so it provides a lot of flexibility to nurture and to make sure the family can work really well. I also think that I'm more of an introvert, and so it's going to be specific, right? So it drains me a lot to be in an office every day, seeing people every day, and I mean, I love people; they're great, but it just is very draining. But if I work from home and then I choose when I go in, then I bring my best space when I go in and my energy, and then I can recuperate when we're working from home, right? So for me as a person, I find working remotely or in a decentralized way with kind of bespoke, strategic, surgical like entrances into my extroverted self, and talking and meeting with other people not outside of Zoom is my preferred choice.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people would agree to what you're saying that, working from home makes them more flexible and brings up more productivity than actually what they had when they were working at office, because it takes a lot of energy to travel to work and a lot of things. So, yeah, I mean, totally agree to what you were saying about it. So, moving on to my next question. Technologies such as AI and machine learning make the most of the data, the most valuable resource of every company today. So far, financial services and companies have been using these technologies to their advantage for fraud detection or maybe process automation. But how are they ready to take the next step? And what do you think would be the next step? And where do they apply this to payment solutions?
Well, I think it's a super interesting one. I think so. You asked a couple good questions in there, so I'll kind of go through them. I think the first one is, a lot of companies are saying AI, bots, the future, right? And that's fine, and that's great, and there is a lot an immense amount of value in it. But I think that I tend to be in the camp of a hybrid approach. So you really look at, um, of the workflows that you're going to automate, if those workflows, since I work in customer experience, customer service CX, right? Of the workflows that engage a customer, what I think a lot of companies don't do is you have to look at the customer satisfaction and the NPS type of scores of those automated workflows. So it's not enough to say, oh, we can save $10 million by installing a bot. You have to look at, well, what's the ramifications of installing the bot? If the CSAT was 80% talking to an agent, is the CSAT still 80% when they talk to the bot? Is it 60%? Is it 70? If it's 20%, I'd argue that's a bad strategic decision to have a bot do that workflow, right? So I think you have to be really thoughtful about a very 360 view of any kind of bot integration. and how that then goes into the automated workflows. So I think that's the first point. I think the second point is a lot of companies aren't really thinking about the value of a bot intrinsically in an agent experience. So when you look at the agent, a lot of the times they repeat the same things over and over when they're typing or writing or and whatnot, especially on chat and email. And so, but if you look at agent assist, then you get a bot that learns, an NLP bot, natural language processor, that learns over time and can write 80 to 90% of the chat or the email, and the agent just comes in there and just personalizes it. So what you get is you get a high CSAT experience, but at probably about 30 to 40% of the cost, because the agent doesn't have to do a lot of the work. That's a sweet spot that I think a lot of companies should really dive into now. Now the third part, which I think is the holy grail of bots, in my opinion, from CX, is I don't know if you've ever watched the Marvel movies, but in Iron Man, there's Jarvis, right? And Jarvis is Iron Man's kind of AI, right? And Jarvis knows Iron Man like the back of his hand or her hand or whatever Jarvis is, right? So he just knows him. And so I imagine a world like I gave a speech back in Finland a few years ago, and they asked me like what I thought the future was, and I gave them a presentation. And I said, well, imagine that I decide on January the 1st that I need to lose 30 pounds. Like I need to get it. I need to go. It's a New Year's resolution. Now, take two versions of myself. One version has a dog and the other version doesn't. Which version do you think is going to last longer on exercising every day and actually losing that weight? It's going to be the one with the companion. And so when you think about the future of bots, I think about the holy grail as having Jarvis or something like that integrated with NLP capabilities where it learns my personality, it knows what I'm interested in, it proactively thinks about what I need before I actually need it. Or if I have a question, it just answers the question for me. And on the back end, all the automation is handling the stuff, fraud detection's in place, all those different mechanics are in place where I just have this companion. And then if I have that companion, then I'm going to be more sticky, I'm going to be more loyal, and I'm going to spend more money in that company or that product. So I think specifically in the bot area, that's that. Now on payments, the last part of your question, I think, the stronger we get on fraud detection, the stronger that we get on being able to automate a lot of the payments mechanisms and not forcing a human being to have to look at like those trust and safety teams that have to go and look at each and every transaction that gets flagged. If the bots can get smart enough to operate, then we can eliminate a lot of friction and a lot of time from that kind of whole process.
Absolutely, and I think the idea of Jarvis is a really good example that you have spoken about. And I think a baby step to this would be this voice recognition systems that are starting to be integrated with chatbots, and the whole idea that bots is not just messaging, but bots can also talk, or the whole voice recognition
That's
system.
right. That's right. That's right. Creating, and then you have to choose kind of like industries where because what you'll have right is like it's the whole adoption curve. Like I would love to have a chat bot talk to me, but some people might be really freaked out about that. So you have to kind of prove it out, and then especially on the privacy side and other things. But then once it gets adopted, there could be an immense amount of value there.
Absolutely. I think, the whole voice recognition and the voice speaking idea adds a lot of personalization to it. People might actually like it, but as you mentioned, some of the people would be really freaked out by, somebody randomly starting to talk in the day.
But that the Holy Grail, I totally agree. The Holy Grail that I mentioned earlier, the Jarvis, it has to have a voice, right? So you're right. That's an important baby step.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people. So working for I have been working with Engati for a year, and a lot of people don't prefer bots for the simple reason that they need to type everything that some people really are, I'd say they don't prefer typing a lot, while if
Mm,
they have a grievance or if they have a complaint, they don't want to type all of that. They rather pick up the call up the support agent and talk to them. And I think the idea of Jarvis, or the idea of having voice or talking to a bot, makes it so much simpler and makes it so much easier for people
yeah, yeah.
bots as customer service support, or in terms of anything as a shopping assistant or anything for that matter. Voice really makes it very easy.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. So moving on to my next question, what do you think are some upcoming payment trends in 2022?
Well, I mean, I think kind of diving back into the first question is I really do think that you'll start to see a lot more cryptocurrency utility over the next couple of years. And I think you'll definitely see more gaming platforms that accept it. Now, obviously, you probably saw the news that Steam or Valve has like banned all blockchain games, which that's their choice. I'm not sure, longer term how strategic that is. But I think that what you will see is there's a lot of gaming platforms out there that will accept utility tokens and utility crypto. So I think that's going to be kind of super interesting. I think like when you think about payments, you're going to see a lot of fintech companies that are going to come up that will help uplift, less developed parts of the world, and I think that's great too, because I've one of the things of having a decentralized worker group is that you can uplift the local economies, because if you don't force them to move to tech hubs, right, then the tech hubs doesn't, like San Francisco has an crazy amount of money, right? But that's because like, that's a tech hub. But if there's plenty of smart, intelligent people that just move here because this is where the money or the opportunities are. But if they could get those money or those opportunities in different parts of the world or in different parts of the America or whatever, they probably would stay. And so I think that as we start to see from a payment standpoint, rather than getting paid, it's paying and uplifting economies. I think that's a trend that will slowly happen in 22, especially as more people work in a decentralized manner and more companies accept that. You're already seeing. I don't know if you guys in India are seeing it, but we're already seeing in America, people have left like major tech hubs in droves to go live in different parts of the country, and that naturally moves some value to them as well. And I think when you think about like the payment trends coming up, I think there's probably two or three areas. I think the first one is you look at, as we talked about in question one, kind of the utility of different cryptocurrencies. And I think you're going to not only see that in gaming, as I talked about earlier, but I think you're also going to start to see that in different marketplaces, at least beta tests of it. It may not be full rollouts, right? But definitely be some beta tests or test groups that companies will do, whether that's public or private, not sure, but you're going to see that for sure. I think in addition to that, like the fintech companies that I talked about earlier, I think there's going to be a huge opportunity for fintech companies to kind of, again, break down borders. And so you'll start to see those fintech companies get enormous amounts of leverage and opportunity. If you've paid attention to the market, there's an enormous amount of VC funding going into fintech today. And because they see that opportunity to break down those borders and give financial capability to people that either don't have it today, or to capitalize on growing trends as countries continue to develop and continue to grow. And then I think when you think about the third area around payments, I think you think about like where are people living, and this is where it intersects with the future of work and decentralization, because it less about how they're getting paid, but more about how they're using capital. Like today, people they move to San Francisco or other tech hubs because that's where a lot of money is. But if with decentralization and the future of work, you're going to start to see that money stay in local communities, whether it's local communities around the US or around the world. And then those local communities' economies will be uplifted, which will strengthen, I think, the level set stability of many countries around the world. So I see a lot of those trends as kind of in the payments area. They're different angles of payments, but I see those as kind of future trends.
Absolutely. So before we wrap up with the interview, Jonathan, are there any other sound bites that you would like to leave our audience with?
Well, I mean, I think, when you think about the future of service, which is like the tagline of Officium, we often find that, when people think about CX, they don't fully understand the impact of CX. And so you'll have really talented product people create a product, but they don't think about the whole customer journey. So they don't realize they're jumping over dimes to get to pennies. And so when you think about customer experience, they look at the entire journey, and you can identify falling points. Failures, I don't really believe in that word, but falling points of the product, or falling points of when stickiness, dries and customers leave. So I really think that, one of the things that we've done with a lot of companies is help them turn their customer service and their customer experience from a cost center to a profit center. And I think whether you use Officium or whoever you use, it doesn't matter to me. I think just pay attention to customer experience, because the most profitable companies in the next 20 years are going to be the ones that pay attention to their customers. Because in the midst of a second, it's all eyeballs now, with the consumer side, with the phones, the enterprise side. There's so much ubiquity of opportunity. It's like most companies offer similar products, but now it's about who gives the best experience and who really cares about their customers. So I hope, and I know Engati CX, CX is right in your name, so I know you guys really care about this as well. But I hope that, the folks that listen, they really focus on their customer experience. Think about how to turn that into a profit center, because time and time again, I've helped companies create profit centers out from their service centers. And so there's a huge opportunity there. But thanks so much for the opportunity, Chandani, to come and spend some time with you, answer some questions. I love the other kind of podcast that I've read with the other kind of visitors and the thought leader guests you have. So I just appreciate the opportunity to spend time with you today.
I think we be honored to have somebody like you come on the show and talk about so many things that are really important. And I mean, some of the companies just really take it as bits which are too small to even think about, or like customer experience. There are very few companies that actually take care of customers, or you know uh, help think of different methods how they can improve customer experience, and which is something that can be really, really helpful. Like there are company brands who have really good customer experience and completely depend on that. But there are brands who don't have a really good experience for their customers, and customer experience is something that is which is going to grow. As we see, it started in the COVID times that as everybody got distant, remote customers also
Yep.
became
Yep.
remote, right? Everybody thought of remote employees or remote workers, but customers also became remote, and how to take care of them while they were remote is something that very few people have actually cracked. And we're glad to have people like you who have done that come on the show and help out everybody understand how it can be done so well.
Love it. Thanks for the platform.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving us your time. I think your insights are really valuable, and I know our audience is going to really enjoy this interview.
Cool, cool, cool. Thank you again. Have a wonderful day.
You do. So we'll be back with a new episode and a brand new expert soon. Stay tuned, and we'll see you around for the next one. Thank you.